I used to hate money, like truly hate it. Today I have zero emotion towards money.
Arlan, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. I got to tell you, your story is absolutely inspiring.
Thank you.
Looking a little bit at your past, starting out spending a period of time making less than $25,000 a year, experiencing homelessness, and now in venture capital, providing funding and resources to underrepresented companies is quite the transition.
You are the venture capitalist behind Backstage Capital, and since we are here to talk about money and talk about finance, I want us to also think about how SoFi is helping all of us get our money right, and part of that is transparency. We really aren't fans of clickbait misinformation around here, so I need to let y'all know that myself and our guest Arlan Hamilton are non-client promoters of SoFi Wealth, and everybody you'll hear from today has been compensated by SoFi for their time.
And I'll keep the transparency train going. I'm a registered representative of SoFi Securities, LLC, and an investment advisor representative with SoFi Wealth, LLC. In every episode of Richer Lives, it's my job to make sure that nothing said is false or misrepresents the truth when it comes to investing.
Okay, I am just so curious, so I have to know, how realistic is Shark Tank when it comes to actually pitching?
Pitching, it's sort of realistic.
Okay.
Definitely. What we see on TV is just, a fraction of what's actually happening. They usually get an hour to pitch.
They get an hour?
Yeah, they get like an hour.
Because we see like 3 minutes on TV.
Yeah, they get a ton of time to pitch. And that's why sometimes you'll see those sharks are kind of cranky because they've listened to 8-hour-long pitches. And then on top of that, a lot of people don't know this, there's about 2 months or so, like on average, of diligence afterwards, even if they get the deal.
Oh, wow.
So if they get the deal, we got $100,000, great, handshake, then they go into true diligence. So I think what makes it realistic is what we see and what we don't see.
Yeah.
That really has to happen. I disagree with a lot of what gets invested in, what doesn't get invested in. So,
That's spicy.
Yeah, I do. I did before. Like when I was living out of a motel with my mom 10 years ago, and on Fridays, we'd watch in Texas, we'd watch Shark Tank, and I would just sit at the edge of my bed and sort of yell at the screen as if I was there. And then, fast forward, I know Damon, I know him personally, I know Barbara Corcoran personally, and I work with Mark Cuban.
You still yelling at them on TV?
Oh, yeah.
Now instead of quick text message.
Yeah, I yell at them in person, yeah,
I love it.
Of course.
Before we dive into the good stuff, we want to start with a basic icebreaker. So, Vivian, take it away.
We want to hear an elevator pitch for a new business, and we are going to do it all via Mad Lib. So I'm going to ask you for a couple words, and you are just going to give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. I'll try my best.
What is your favorite hobby?
General Hospital. Watching it.
Okay. Give me a verb.
Run.
Ooh. What about an adjective?
Bold.
Okay. A noun.
Taco.
Taco.
I don't know why I said that.
That's a good one.
That's solid.
What is the last app on your phone that you used?
Instagram.
Okay.
All right. Least favorite corporate jargon.
Webinar.
Monthly grocery budget.
$1,000.
Okay.
That's still lower than Brian's.
Yeah. Okay.
We double checked.
Okay.
I have a family of 4, okay? Like, my kids eat.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right. Net worth goal.
I would say 100 million.
100. That's a solid goal.
Yeah.
Good number.
I think I can get to $1 billion, but I don't necessarily want to.
Okay. Worst employee benefit.
Some sort of pizza that happens.
No raise. We get a pizza party though.
That'll boost morale right there.
Don't get me wrong, I love a good pizza party, but as an employee benefit.
And favorite charity.
School's Consent Project.
Alrighty, we're ready to pitch. I'm Vivian, and this is Brian. While we both have successful careers in finance, we also both love watching General Hospital and have been dreaming of ways to run this growing industry. After many rounds of iteration, we're excited to announce a new business we're starting called Bull Taco. Think Instagram meets watching General Hospital.
Unlike other brands in this market, we stand out because we webinar. Yeah, that's solid. We currently have $1,000 in startup funds and are hoping to raise $100 million in exchange for pizza. With this capital, we can take Watching General Hospital to the next level. And if you make an investment in our company today, we will donate 2% of our proceeds from all sales to the school's consent project.
Okay, but it does sound like we are asking for money for pizza.
That's right.
Which does make Watching General Hospital more fun.
Yeah.
So I feel like the pitch was actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
Sold.
Brian, I feel like that pitch was A+.
Yeah.
Great student, pleasure to have in class.
So I was successful in my first Mad Lib journey?
Yes.
Okay.
You crushed your first Mad Libs. I love that.
Now, what I want to dive into is really the idea of turning barriers into springboards, because I think, reading and researching into your background, I think that's something that you've done extremely well, whether it be the industry that you've gotten into without, I guess, formal education in that industry, to even the focus that you have. So tell me about the interest and the reason for getting into venture capital without the quote unquote, finance background or any of that other stuff that you see all the time.
Yeah.
Like, what made you decide to start?
Well, I wasn't a kid and thinking, I want to be a venture capitalist one day. I never thought that. I was broke until I was 35. In one way or another, sometimes homeless, sometimes on food stamps. But I was always very curious, right? I was always looking at things and very much an entrepreneur, even though I didn't really know that that's what I was. So I wanted to start a company in my mid-30s. I wanted to start a tech company because I learned, this is what Twitter is, and this is what Airbnb is, this is what Ashton Kutcher is making investments in, right? So I started researching, how do you raise money to start a company? It was then when I realized it was a stat that changed my life, that less than 10% of venture funding, and therefore angel funding, goes to people who are not white men in the U.S. And the white men make up about 30% of the U.S. So that just didn't make any sense to me. And this would have been, 10 years ago when I was looking at this. So people were not talking about it the way we talk about it today. And I thought, well, okay, I can try to raise money for my company, but I don't think I would go much further than that. And I would be very lonely because there wouldn't be a lot of us there, a lot of women, a lot of people of color, et cetera. I had a kind of an epiphany one day in 2014 and realized that I was sort of being called to start a fund. I know it sounds a little cheesy, but until that point, I had been chasing things. I'd been chasing dreams and maybe even running away from things, poverty, et cetera. But this was the first time I felt like, the answers are all there, and I'm just being compelled to go in that direction. And I thought, even though I was had no home, address, I was trying to raise millions of dollars, I thought, if I could pull this off, how many people would benefit from that? How big would that be? So that was just enough to keep me going, even when I ended up sleeping on the floor of the San Francisco airport as my home.
Okay, we're getting into so much good stuff, but before we learn more about Arlan's story, let's learn about one of the ways SoFi is helping people reach their ambitions. Like Arlan, we all have big dreams. Dream jobs, dream lives, dream homes. If you're on the hunt for your dream home, you know how hard it can be to find one without a dream loan.
That's where SoFi comes in. SoFi mortgage home loans have a fast application process, and you can put down as little as 3 to 5% on your down payment. Plus, we guarantee you'll close on time, which, let me tell you, is a big deal in this market.
Oh, I know it. I just went through the home buying process, and you need every advantage you can get. View your rate for a SoFi home loan today and get started on getting into the home of your dreams. Can I ask about the mental shifts that you would have to make? I think a lot of us, myself included, grow up with a pretty big scarcity mindset. And, coming from a background where you're saying, I, didn't make that much money. I was living below the poverty line until I was 35.
Yes.
I'm assuming you probably had a similar mindset. How did you jump to saying, I can ask for so much money, more money than I've ever seen in my entire life, and make a really compelling case for it? Well,
first of all, we were talking about founders who were women across the board, who were people of color across the board. And I saw them at work. I saw what they were doing. I knew that they were worth fighting for.
Yeah.
To me, that was not a question. So that gave me a great deal of confidence. But also, I studied for as long as I can remember millionaires and billionaires. And there was never any person, whatever their race or gender, that I felt, they're smarter than I am. So because of that, I thought, well, their circumstances were different.
Yeah. And, you also talk about, you mentioned the stat of less than 10% of people who get VC funding are not white men.
That's right.
And another crazy stat that I hate to share is that all women teams actually get less than 2%.
Yeah.
How did you navigate a space where, frankly, no one looked like you, and they certainly didn't want to give you any money?
It was interesting. There were many rooms where I was the only something or multiple things.
Yeah.
And sometimes that was disheartening. Like I went to a really famous accelerators Women's Day early in the process, and I was handed somebody's keys. And that has happened so many times in one way or another.
They thought you were the valet.
Is the coat? Where's the bathroom? Take me here. I was on the cover of Fast Company in 2018, and I was in Boston, and I was walking outside of my suite of my hotel where I was going to walk across the street to keynote at Faneuil Hall for Forbes. And a woman came up to me and asked me if she could use the towel on my cart, because that must be my cart. The housekeeping cart.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You can internalize those, but I try to repurpose. So a better example is this happened at an event where Chris Sacca was, and he used to be on Shark Tank. He's a billionaire. He invested in Uber and Twitter early, and I wanted him to invest in my fund very early on, and he was keynoting this place, and I was the only Black person in attendance, but there were Black people working at this event. So I went up to a Black woman at the event, and I pointed to him, and I said, "You see that man on stage?" And she could care less who he is. I said, "I need to talk to him." She didn't ask me why, she didn't ask me anything, what my name was. She said, "Okay, I believe he's supposed to be doing an interview upstairs after this, where he's getting makeup done. This is the service elevator. It'll take you right upstairs, so you'll beat everyone up to the upstairs." She, without looking back, she pushed the elevator button, and I did the Homer Simpson to the bushes.
Yeah. The fade.
Yeah. I went back, went one floor up, and I had Chris Sacca's attention for 30 minutes, and he and his wife ended up investing in the fund days later.
How did it make you feel that somebody who likely was so overlooked by every other person in that room was the sole reason why you were even able to get this man's attention?
I hate it and I love it, right? I hate it because it's just ridiculous, but I love it, and I've been trying to find her. I don't know if there's a way to ever find her, but I've spoken about it for years and wanted to find her. But it's those brilliant moments, because she had enough wherewithal to understand where I needed to go and how to make something happen for me. And you just see that over and over in our portfolio. I've invested in more than 200 companies now, led by underestimated founders. And you just see this over and over again, this ingenuity and this creativity, because we've had to make stuff happen. We've had to make it work. As women, we just have to make it work all day long, every day, and we don't talk about it. We don't think about it. We don't even pat ourselves on the back, but we know. We know what we have to do just to show up at work. We know what we have to do to show up anywhere.
Gotta work twice as hard to get half as much.
Yes. Like, my thing is, I say I'll stop talking about it when it stops happening.
Right.
When it stops being true, I will certainly stop talking about it.
And I guess, how do you think you've turned that into, an advantage, where your focus is on companies that are, quite frankly, underrepresented?
Yes.
And it's not like, okay, only white dudes have great ideas and can run great businesses. So you have a unique focus to empower these companies. How do you think that's now an advantage instead of probably a barrier at the same time, but also an advantage?
I mean, it's an incredible advantage. If you look at our portfolio, there are companies that I invested in their first round, maybe their first investor, 25,000, 50,000, whatever I could pull together, 6-7 years ago, that were barely doing a few $1,000s in recurring revenue, and today are doing millions and millions of dollars in recurring revenue. And the fact that I was there to see them was a huge leg up. The fact that I could see the potential in them, and that I didn't let where they were from, or the fact that they might have not used a G at the end of a word, stop me from taking them seriously. It's proven over and over again how much of an advantage that is.
When I personally talk about being a woman of color, oftentimes I get called, playing up the victim mentality.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that? Because again, to your point, like I'll stop talking about it when it stops happening. But
you know, what I say is
that?
like I'm not going to speak for you, but I could maybe you can relate to this. I'm tired of it too.
Yeah,
like, I'm tired of the conversation too. But it's still a reality for us. And so for those of us who have found a way, I believe we owe it to others who have not found the way or don't have that access to keep it going. It would be really disrespectful for me to find some success and money and didn't say, okay, bye y'all, I'm good. Because I'm good, I don't need to sound the alarm anymore. That to me would be a travesty. So that's part of it. I call it loosening the pickle jar for somebody else, right? You're making it that much easier for the next person, hopefully. And like when you go in and you ask for a raise or you go in and you speak up about something, you may not get that raise. You may not get the result that you're looking for. But what if you made it that much easier for the next person who might?
During season 1 of Richer Lives, we had Elaine Welteroth, who was the former editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue.
Yes.
And she said something so similar, that when you find richness for yourself, it's not just the privilege, but you have an obligation to then help your community, help the people around you. And I just found it so enlightening that you said something so similar. Loosening the pickle jar, I love that.
Piggybacking off the idea of like loosening the pickle jar, it almost feels like so many people want instant gratification right now. Whereas that's definitely not the road that you traveled. So like, how did you have the patience or determination or whatever it was to stick with it where you went after it and after and after it when it wasn't easy?
So I think of things in decades and not quarters. And about a lot of things, I'm not super patient. It's not like I'm just like this wise person. It's like, let it be, let it, grow. But it's true. It's going to take a while. And my mother said to me in a very poignant time in her life, she didn't know where she heard it, but she said that the seed does not see the petal. And so for her to say that to me at the time, she was saying it because she had cancer and she thought she was going to pass soon. And so she was, it was this whole, I was driving and I was crying and it was a whole thing. And now she's cancer-free, thankfully, Mrs. Sims.
We love.
Yes, but that to me, I was like, that's it. That's it. I do not have to see all of the fruit of the labor for it to be worth it. And once you feel that on a deep level, you can do anything. You will do anything.
Yeah. Okay, so when we refer to VC investing, the VC part, typically it stands for venture capitalist.
That's right.
But you actually prefer to be called a venture catalyst. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, I was first called that when I was on the cover of Fast Company.
Listen, talk your talk. If I'm on the cover of anything, people will know about it forever.
Yeah.
So yes.
I probably would have a copy sitting right here if that was me.
Listen, someone asked me, someone asked me online once, they're like, when are you going to stop talking about that cover? And I said, I don't know, when did you stop talking about yours? So I'll keep talking about it. It's been a while, but it was one of the most purchased physical copies that they've ever had.
That's awesome.
In their history, and I think that's because I was the first Black woman non-celebrity to be on the cover.
Wow.
And that speaks volumes about diversity on your covers, people, so please do it. But they called me a venture catalyst, and that's the first time I saw that. And it just made so much sense because I do think about catalyzing. That's all I really care about. It's an impact, but it's really like, can I be at an inflection point for somebody? Can I do that? And I don't think capitalism on its own is terrible, is like evil.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all kind of doing. That's why we're watching this, is why we're here, right? But I love the idea that it can be more. It can be deeper. It can be nuanced. And it doesn't have to only mean that I am the person who wins at the end.
How do you catalyze, some of these other people that you've been supporting with your fund? Obviously, that's a huge thing, giving other people the financial leg up so that they can actually pursue their dreams.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, just making those decisions. I mean, we still only invest in less than 1% of what we see. It's because we're in that business where you can't invest in everyone. You shouldn't. It's not the right thing to do. But being someone's first yes has changed lives.
And you mentioned, 1%. You invest in 1% of kind of what comes across. What are the characteristics of the people that you look for We're like, okay, I am going to get behind this person in order to fulfill their passion, their idea, their calling.
It really is like an X factor thing too. Okay. I wish it had a formula to it, because then people could kind of get lined up with it. But you see it, you feel it, you know it when it's happening. It's really about taking some sort of calculation of what have they been able to do with what they have by the time they meet you. And you can take that and then calculate what they would do with more.
Okay.
Right? That's like the biggest way I can say it, the simplest way I can say it. And to me, that then encompasses a lot of things. And, there's a lot of little things like, how defensive are they when you're asking them questions? Like, someone who gets pitched as much as I do. Like, I work with Mark Cuban, and I think I'm maybe he's the only person who gets pitched more than I do. Yeah. Like, that I know personally. But someone who gets pitched as much as I do, if I'm asking questions, that means that's the next step. That means that you got through the filter of, I actually care about what you're saying, or maybe I care anyway, but it's just not going to work. Yeah. But if I'm asking questions, that means, there's more to this. I want to pull at that thread.
And when you think about, it's way before they get to you, just people who have an idea or they want to pursue their passion.
Yeah.
How should they think through getting the ball rolling, making progress on their idea?
Well, first of all, I would say that even though I'm an investor and my job is to make investments and have a portfolio, I don't think that, I think maybe 80%, if not more, people do not need venture funding. And I think a big part of why some people start companies is simply so they can go out and raise, because they see the headlines, or they see the movies, or they see the thing, right? Or they
it's a little ego-based.
Yeah, it's ego-based. It's also like, this will be my hack. This will be my shortcut. There's no real shortcut. It's like the work is the shortcut.
Let me ask you a question, Brian. How many finance apps do you think the average person has on their phone?
I don't know, 1?
Wrong, 2.5.
What do you do with half an app? That's 1.5 more apps than people actually need.
That's why SoFi offers an all-in-one solution for your finances. We're talking banking, borrowing, investing, basically anything you need to get your money right. So delete all those extra apps and get with the bank that's helping you reach all your ambitions. Download the SoFi app now at sofi.com/richerlives.
One thing I'm curious about is, we mentioned early on in your journey, starting with making less than $25,000, $30,000 a year, experiencing homelessness. How has your relationship and your emotions with money changed from then to now?
I used to hate money, like truly hate it. I used to want to use it as revenge, like getting it would be my revenge on life, on people who I felt did me wrong or whatever. And it used to make me so sad, because it made my mom cry. It made her stressed and not have a high quality of life at times. And so there used to be all of this emotion attached to it, that ran the gamut. Today I have zero emotion towards money.
Interesting.
Positive or negative?
Exactly.
Oh.
I even said to my wife the other day, and I think it surprised even her, even though she knows me so well, I said, if I lost everything, which I hope not to, but if I lost everything, I'd be okay.
Wow.
I would be okay.
Now, how did that change? Because that's a huge change. How did that happen?
Just having experienced all that I have the last decade, knowing what it's like to just not know how you're going to eat that day.
Yeah.
Sleeping on the floor of an airport, and just what that feels like. And then being able to take my family on trips and not worry about what things cost, and having a DoorDash bill that's more than $1,000 a month. We didn't know each other very well when we said. I know what they both feel like.
Yeah.
And I always heard people say that money isn't important, and once you reach a certain amount, it's all the gravy and all that. And people say that money can't buy happiness. I say it can rent happiness.
Yeah.
So don't talk to me about how money doesn't matter. It matters. Money is opportunity, tools, resources, power, control, freedom, quality of life. It just buys you those things. Yep. And so I have a respect for the skill of procuring money. But I have zero feeling about money because it cannot make me, it cannot break me, because there's nothing anyone could give me or take from me financially to make me change my ideals, to make me lose integrity. I get to like walk through life in a very specific way.
It's almost a sense of freedom.
I cannot be bought. No, no. It's been tried. Like my silence has been tried. People have tried to buy my silence because I'm very outspoken about things that I think are wrong in the world. Kind of go away has been, or even like, you know, tell people that we're great and we'll pay you. And it's just, you can't financially take anything away from me or give me anything that would make me do that.
Arlan, thank you so much again for being here. I've learned so much. You are a treasure trove of wisdom. So thank you for sharing that with us and with the viewers.
Thank you so much for having me.
Brian, I am so thankful for all of the amazing pieces of information that Arlan shared with us today. I feel like I have a million ideas racing around my head and I'm ready to conquer the world.
And if anyone can do it, it's you. Well, and maybe Arlan.
Well, that's all for today's episode, but we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another inspiring guest. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can be the first to know when a new episode drops.
And drop a comment to let us know who you want us to interview next on Richer Lives. We'll be watching.
See you next time.
Hi, it's me, Brian Walsh, aka Dr. Money, again to talk about some of the legal stuff. Though I am a certified financial planner professional, your finances are unique. That means anything I talked about today shouldn't be considered advice. Think of it more as high-level education or guidance.
And don't forget to subscribe.
I love bowling.
With or without bumpers?
Bumpers?
Without.
What do you mean? I need the bumpers.
No, that's not playing.
No.
It's awkward. Okay.